This year has made me so emotional, or this past year, because I didn't know that I could cry at the drop of a hat like I have been. The tears have been really free and flowing. I feel like Lucy from Love Island that year.
Oh wow.
Oh my goodness, Lucy was jokes.
Her tear ducts, honestly, that's me at the moment. Like, my tear ducts want a break.
Yeah. I actually think have I cried more? I think I cried more in 2020 than I had the 6 years previous combined, cumulative.
Wow.
Wow.
Hi everyone, I'm Serena.
I'm Shreya.
I'm Samia.
And I'm Naima, and welcome back to Untold. I just want to ask you guys, obviously we're recording at the end of the week, and we're coming into the second half of January, or we're in the second half of January now. How's your week been? How's the first couple of weeks of 2021 been? Talk to Auntie Nye.
Lockdown is awful.
Did you say awful?
Awful.
Yeah. I feel
Why? Sorry. I think it's isolating, which we all know because that's the whole point of lockdown, to isolate ourselves. But I think for me personally, it's hard to study, it's hard to sit exams, it's hard to revise in the same room that I'm resting in the same room that I'm supposed to like just do general relaxation in. And it feels like I'm trapped. So yeah, I'm not here for this lockdown, and I can't wait for it to be over. I saw that's meant to end in March, but don't know how true that is.
Yeah, I've been seeing different figures. Also, yeah, I think I've never been more unproductive my entire life. Like, I'm so undisciplined. These past 2 weeks, I feel like, except when I had to get out because I had meetings or whatever, anytime that I haven't been forced due to obligation to be out of bed, I've been in bed. Like, every day feels the same. Yeah, and then it's a thing of like wanting to do better, then being mad at yourself because you haven't done better.
Yeah.
And then the cycle continues, and you're like, okay, I'm going to do better tomorrow, but it's 12 again, and you haven't gotten out of bed, so you say, I'll try again tomorrow, and then tomorrow never comes. And you've ordered, guys, I came home, my whole bedroom floor, anything that was visible was covered in a package, and I said, this is terrible. This is terrible. I think that's another thing that's out of control. I think the only way I could exert control is through buying.
Yeah, I saw someone say this, and I definitely agree. Like, I think I bought more in this lockdown than the other lockdowns, and like someone was saying that it's just something to look forward to, and I think it's so true. Like, it's like, oh, a bit of dopamine, and then it just crashes.
Yeah.
So quickly.
Yeah. I just need more serotonin, and because you know what it is. I think even I am a big believer that forced positivity is disgusting. So I would rather if I'm feeling negative, I would rather sit in that than tell myself, do you know what? It's all right. You know, I'm being ungrateful. Yes, I am. But I'm gonna sit in it for a bit and just gonna think about. I don't know, but I would like to say that I think I'm very lucky in the sense that I do have a support system around me. Like, I feel like I'm in a safe house, have a garden if I do want to go out, like live near a park and things like that, so definitely aware of that. But some days
I think that's the other issue. I think me and Naima were talking about it the other day, was the thing that we feel like we can't say we're going through a lot, we're feeling rough, because there's obviously people going through much worse in this pandemic. And
so ungrateful.
Yeah, I feel so ungrateful. I got literally everything I could possibly imagine in this time, but yeah, this is probably the worst I've ever felt in my adult life. And I feel cheeky to even say I feel like shit when people are actually literally dying out here. So
how's your week been, Surrey?
Fine. I don't want to talk too much, but I feel like because I'm new to this working life, it's a lot. And like I feel like I don't have time to do things for myself. I remember time ago, like before I started working, I was exercising here and there, you know, I was a bit on job, before I got corona as well. So I'll kind of blame that. But I was exercising. I felt like I was in a like I was able to do things that were enjoyable here and there. Now I just feel like my life is work. And then also I don't even have time to like go even for a walk. That's what it feels like right now. I can't even go for a walk. I haven't left my house in I don't know how long, except to go to the car. Um, like I have not even walked anywhere, haven't exercised in months. Um, yeah, and I know it's not good like mentally, like it's not good for your mental health to not even get some fresh air, but I feel like it's become the norm and like leaving the house would be a big thing right now because at the same time I have nowhere to go. So yeah, I'm all right though. I feel like yeah, like this lockdown's definitely the worst one, more so because of what I can't do. Like because the previous ones, I felt like it wasn't that deep. I was busy. Like first time I was studying for exams. Second one, I was ill with corona, so that didn't affect me. This one, I'm like, okay, I could actually be doing things, and I can't now. So yeah, but I get what you guys are saying about like you don't want to feel ungrateful because people are in worse positions. I get that, but I feel like for the like with this, everyone's been affected in some way, and something's been taken away from everyone in some way. So it depends how you look at it, really.
Yeah, I think the major factor that I've realized is choice because I would have, I think I wouldn't have, you know, every weekend I probably wouldn't have gone out. I wouldn't have gone to a restaurant. I would have, I wouldn't be on 25 holidays a year. But I think it's just the lack of choice and a lack of end in sight. And I just know that even the fact that I know it's affected some people so much worse, that's also like adding to it, just human suffering in general. You see these numbers and it's so detached. Like the UK reported 100,000 deaths due to COVID-19. And it was reported so there's just no like sense of feeling or emotion attached that was the case in the first lockdown. I think we just kind of have now we're so desensitized to everything, so I do like wonder how that is going to affect everyone and also like children and like babies who are now one if they were born in the first lockdown. um so like where kids would be shielding and stuff, like baby, I didn't really take babies out as much obviously because whatever the immune system might be. So I don't know if even when lockdown was eased, if those kids have been out and it's been a year and not, we're like seeing other babies, like what does that then do? Because I've seen a lot of people talk about that. So I don't know. I think it's very tough. I think it's tough. It's a tough time to be pregnant. I think it's a tough time to be just anything. I think just say yeah. So if anything, I think it's brought out it's both a big equalizer, but also shown how much inequity there is in the world. Like some people out here going to private islands because they can in private jets with private COVID tests, where some people are dying because they can't get tested in time. Yeah, they can't get healthcare. They
Yeah.
can't get sick time off. Like I've seen a lot of these horror stories where like delivery companies would force the person to come in even though they were ill, and they like, time off is not a thing in America. Like legal time off is not a thing, which is crazy. So they could easily be like, well, if you don't come, you're not going to get paid. And because they don't have anything, as robust as universal healthcare, they'll keep coming in because they lose insurance. It's just so many things. So I just feel like it's a lot. And then even like, yeah, I'm just so tired. I just want to sleep.
I think
That conclusion.
I think everyone is tired, and I think the one thing that I guess maybe not necessarily positive, but like a silver lining is the emergence of people really like focusing on their mental health in the last few years, or being aware of it. And like, because I think compared to even just when I look at how my mum talks about mental health with me now compared to when I was younger, it's very different. It's like, yeah, like it's an actual problem that can exist in everyone versus it's not something that affects us. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's really good that people are now having more open conversations. Like, I know that people are going through a lot, but I do actually appreciate that on Twitter, people are bantering about talking to their therapist. Like, I love that it's being normalized that, yes, I do have to look after my mind just as much as I have to look after my physical. And I guess it's one silver lining that now there's less of a stigma, or we're removing the stigma bit by bit when it comes to your mental health and looking after it, and trying to make sure that you're also not jumping to conclusions about how mental health problems can manifest itself in different people, because there's definitely like almost like a poster situation of what mental health can look like in different people, or what it should look like, and that's like depression or anxiety. And there's actually so many other things that people can be affected with that are now there's more awareness of and stuff as well. But I think this year, if anything, goes to show that nobody's exempt from having mental health issues, and it can just take a certain type of trigger to affect people.
But that's so scary, because if all it takes is for some stillness for your mind to catch up with you, imagine how much we're actually repressing. Because if all it takes is some isolation and some sense of stillness, and you're not as urgent with things, you're not as on the go, and that's all that takes. I think that's more telling than anything. I still feel like I think we still have a long way to go, because I think I'm stuttering. I think we're all very accommodating and understanding when it comes to other people's mental health, but I think when it comes to our own, we tend to kind of downplay it, or tend to go about it with whataboutism, like, you know, this person's going through XYZ, why should I feel sorry for myself, or why should I feel sad? I think we are a lot more graceful with understanding other people than we are with ourselves, because I think when people still ask how are you, I'll just say I'm okay, like. And I think it's quite, maybe we need to be a bit more truthful, or be okay with being a bit more truthful, because I think, yes, we can get rid of the societal stigma, but if you're stigmatizing yourself, then that's obviously a problem. Yeah, that's just what I think.
Yeah, the other day I went round to collect some stuff from Naima's house, and Naima was just like, do you know, the casual, hey, how are you? I said, actually, I'm not doing good. I'm having a nervous breakdown. And I went for it, because I think, and at this point, I can't even pretend to be okay. My life is so far from okay. Pretending to be okay is not feasible at this moment. And I think it's not only to do with having so much time to myself, because actually I don't, because I'm trying to revise, but being so destructive in everything I know. I think as humans, we are so used to having stability, and having a sense of something's always a constant. And what happened with COVID, it's really highlighted so many things that are not constant in your life. And it's even highlighted that life is not constant by so many people dying. And just being so uprooted in everything I was stable in is the bit that is quite difficult.
Yeah, I think it's definitely like exposed a lot. Like for me personally, I didn't know I could cry so much. And you know what's so jokes is I'm not all the time, like when it comes to my own feelings, I'm almost numb. It's actually when I'm just like, I might be watching a TV program and the slightest thing is sad and I'm crying. Like the other day I was watching this American TV series, SWAT it's called. And actually the episode was about this guy who was on the brink of committing suicide. And I was literally booing. And my mum was like, you're crying over SWAT? And I'm like, yes, I'm crying. It's like the littlest things on like honestly, I can't remember the last time I watched something and didn't cry. It might not even be that deep, but it could be a little bit sad and I'm crying. But when it comes to like me, I'm literally like just holding it down. I'm like holding it in. But it's like all of the emotions, it's almost as if all the emotions that I'm going through internally are coming out when I'm watching whatever I'm watching, trying to focus on my escapism, but all the emotion is just coming through with like the TV shows that I'm watching. So I definitely feel like this year has made me so emotional, or this past year, because yeah, I didn't know that I could cry at the drop of a hat like I have been. The tears have been really free and flowing. I feel like Lucy from Love Island that year.
Oh
Oh
wow.
my goodness, Lucy was jokes.
Her tear ducts, honestly, that's me at the moment. Like my tear ducts want a break.
Yeah. I actually think yeah, have I cried more? I think I cried more in 2020 than I had the 6 years previous combined, cumulative.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, because I don't
That's
cry. You
because
guys know
yeah,
I
I was
don't
gonna
cry.
say, yeah.
Yeah, like
Why 2020? What made you cry in
Are you,
2020?
I wouldn't
question.
know. There'll be moments where I'll be like, the world is a mess, and this is what I've been grappling with for a very long time, and I don't know if how I think about it is wrong or not. I actually this is very bad, and it goes against what we're talking about. But I think when like things are going on, and people will be like, "It's okay to choose your mental health. It's okay to switch off." I think, God damn, no, it isn't. It isn't because imagine if that was actually happening to you. You don't get to switch off from it. The fact that I can switch off and I can scroll from the starving children in Yemen, and I can scroll from George Floyd's death, and I can scroll from all of these awful things. Like I think a man was executed and he was innocent yesterday, Dustin.
Dustin
And
Hicks, yeah.
and I think like the fact that I can just scroll from it and then shut down Instagram and that's it. I think that is the problem. That is the problem, that we think we can do that. No, we cannot. Because I think, because those people can't turn away from it. That's their reality.
I hear where you're coming from, because
Yeah.
this is exactly how I felt like
And
all of last year. But I feel like it gets to the point where it's so emotionally taxing that what you're trying to do isn't even productive. So
Yeah.
like I was very much like, no, like people are telling me, like people kept on telling me, even like especially after what happened after the protests and stuff last year, and people like, Naima, remember to take a break, Naima, blah. And I was like, no, like there's no time for breaks. Like the world is burning. Like I need to do the best that I can. I need to be working around the clock. I need to be educating myself. I need to be trying to do things in my local community. I need to be spreading awareness of what's going on in Africa. Like I need to be doing everything. And then it's like it gets to the point where it's like actually it becomes so emotionally draining that you're almost running on autopilot, and actually you're not being as productive as you could be to try and help those causes because you've emotionally drained yourself. So
Yeah.
I definitely hear where you're coming from, because it's like we have a privilege to switch off at all, but I think if you want to be as effective as possible, you need to, like, you can't burn out, you can't burn yourself out.
No, I completely get that. But I think this is when it hit me. I will never forget that day. I don't think I've ever cried that much my whole life. And things yeah, never ever. But I remember it was, I think, so I was doing an internship in London, and then we had like, they made us volunteer. So we have like volunteering days that we had to take off. So we were down in Tower Hamlets, and then we were responsible for we were just like weeding the cemetery. So we were at Tower Hamlets Cemetery, like Tower Hamlets Park, which also has a cemetery in it, but like nobody's been buried there for hundreds of years now. But like people used to be buried there. So we were just like weeding the graves and like just cleaning and like all of that kind of stuff, just helping out. And I just remember like the graves were so like unkept and like all of that, because people have stopped coming there because maybe whoever the person was, their relatives have passed away or whatever it might be. And then like the dates were like, I think there was one and it was like boy aged 9 years old, and then nobody had probably visited him in like 50 years because of how how many years ago that was. And I just thought, like, this is so sad because nobody's there to remember them. And then I thought about, but at least somebody's observed their death. Like, they've been given a burial, they've been given a commemoration of sorts. And then I thought about all the children, all the young people, all the women, all the men in this world who die, like, especially in the Middle East. And this was when, like, I was looking more into the Middle East, understanding how we, like, when I say we, you know, US, UK plays such a massive part. And by paying tax, we are all complicit in that. And I was looking at that, and it was these many deaths, and then the numbers, these people were dumbed down into numbers. That's it, 293 deaths and this bombing. And that's when it hit me. I said, do you know what? Yes, I completely get what you're saying, Naima. I think the right thing to do is to switch off so you can come back, be more effective. And almost emotion and passion isn't always the right way to get things done, because emotion is seen as a feminine trait, and which is why it's downplayed quite a bit. It is like more than logic. If I come to you with facts versus if I come to you crying and saying how this is terrible, you're going to listen to the reason more so, right? So I get that. So I think it's very, very important. But then I thought, not like, one thing that I will do is just think about these Syrian, because the numbers were crazy, and it was day after day after day after day. And I thought, these children, that's all they know. And I don't even know their names. History doesn't know their names, guys. And that's when I remember I cried the whole night, because I said, somebody needs to cry for them. And it sounds so dumb, and I know it's so stupid, because what is that going to do? But I thought, somebody needs to cry for their death, because what is a life if their death isn't observed? Like, nobody sat down, because their parents probably died with them. Nobody sat and cried and mourned these deaths, these innocent deaths, because there was nobody left. And I think that's what I was like, no, somebody has to, because then life means nothing. If nobody even knows your name after you've died, nobody's there to say, oh, that was awful. Well, I'm going to miss them. What the hell is the point? And I will never forget that. And I think the way I look at things since that day has fundamentally changed. And yeah, like, so there'll be times where I'll be fine, well, we'll be talking, and it's never like trivial things or like things to do with me, but that's what it'll always come back to. I just think, oh my God, like, I'm just, because sadness is going to do nothing, but I'm just deeply, deeply in mourning since that day, and it's been years, but that's what, yeah, and that's what it gets to. And then I think, like, I'm super, super talkative, super bubbly, but I think it's moments, I think it's silence that really gets you, because I think, like, what else is there but just mourning all around, which is so depressing and sad and just debilitating. But that's yeah
I get paralyzed by that. All of you guys know I get into a bit of a state when I overthink about the world and all that's going wrong. And it is, and I would use paralyzing, because I would be even struggling to put clothes on me, because I'm like, oh my goodness, a child made this from slave labor. So it is really debilitating. And then what I've had to come to realize, for me personally, so I can cope as well, is that my brain hasn't evolved, and that in that sense that I have empathy, but because of the way that we were before, you know, this revolution, we only knew what was around us. We could only comprehend what was around us. So I can feasibly have empathy for all that was around me and not be drained. Now, what I think this revolution has, globalization, industrial revolution, has caused is, you know, communication with the greater world. And we still have that empathy trait. We still have those feelings and those emotions, but now we're being asked to stretch that to the whole world. And we cannot, because our bodies, we haven't evolved enough to have that much emotion to give, really. We can't reasonably comprehend all the people dying currently in Yemen or all these other places and still continue with our lives in the same, because we're so detached, but yet so close to the situation by our empathy, and it's really, really debilitating because our brains just cannot compute it. And I think loads of people just, instead of just, you know, dealing with it, they just shut it out and pretend that none of these things are happening, and that's a coping mechanism. Or you become like me and just cry every day, or Sharia, and cry a lot because of how much is going on, and it's
Not a
not
lot. A
so
fair few times. Good night, please. That is not my brand. How dare you? Sorry. What?
Sorry. You can cry once.
Nothing to be ashamed of.
No, I completely get that. It's just Naima, you know, it's not my brand. As you can carry on.
More my brand. It's more my brand. I cry a lot. I'm a bit like Naima. I cry at other like stuff. I'll be watching something. I'll be watching Forrest Gump and I'll be crying.
Yeah.
I haven't watched that.
Elite movie. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Serena, I feel.
Sometimes I just like to listen, to be honest. Yeah. But you know what to say. You guys have talked a lot of deep stuff. Like, yeah, I get the whole feeling like you should mourn for everything that's going on and what's happening to people. But I also get Naima's point of like sometimes you need to switch off. And I think everyone has a different level that they can cope with. And
Yeah.
I think it's just about knowing what you can deal with personally. I don't think anyone can police what other people are doing. At the end of the day, me personally, even when it comes to my own stuff, I know how to like, if like say I'm in bed at night and like certain thoughts are coming to my mind, sometimes I'm just like, nope, not today, and I'll literally just like think about something else. I think I've kind of like perfected that. Whereas when I was younger, like I could literally be in bed at night and like I'm really like I just want to cry and all of this because of certain things I'm thinking. Now I'm just like, nope, like literally I've learned to like just switch off my thoughts when I need to. So I think that's something that helps me, and also like just making jokes of a situation.
Yeah.
I think laughter is like my main coping mechanism for things. When it comes to myself anyway, I'm not going to be bantering other people's pain, obviously, but like when it comes to myself, that's how I deal with things. And I think a lot of, well, me and Naima and Shri are quite like that. So me has kind of become a bit like that recently because of us.
You've had to.
Like,
you need to be concerned.
I was kind of adapted. Something bad would be happening, and then I'll be in the house with Serena and Sharia, and they'll be laughing, and I was like, "What the hell, guys? You don't understand the situation."
I will never forget when we got burgled and we were terrified for our lives. And then me and Serena, I think we had a fantastic night of fantastic jokes.
I was like crying with laughter. We were laughing about when the burglar comes back, Samia's gonna jump off of that roof off behind, like. And Samia was planning her escape. It was so funny.
She said we should.
She was being serious.
Sorry, guys, I just remembered Samia was like, because I used to live in that. So we each had our own floor. So I was in the attic, so right at the top. And Samia said Shriya's window opens the most. So I think we should all hide up in there, and we should go through the roof. Like, guys, and she'd be like, guys, why are you laughing? Like, this is not a laughing matter.
Oh no, yeah.
I think laughing at your own pain is top tier.
I think it's fantastic.
I think laughter's medicinal, personally.
Yeah,
do you go through this situation with COVID, or is there a certain amount of things that you can laugh about in lockdown?
I can laugh about everything. I feel like I think whenever I say something, it's followed by a massive lol, and then memes, and then banter, and then Naima will drop in her "we move," but we don't move.
I've actually moved myself into a whole new universe. I've honestly, and it got to the point where, like, I think I said this to you guys, my mentor who I was working with before I shut my business down, I think it was after my gran passed away, and you know, everyone's like, how are you, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good, like, it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? Like, you just gotta keep it moving, sort of thing. And then he was like, yeah, but I want you to know you have a history of saying it's fine and then having a breakdown. I was like, okay, all right, there's no need to shout. I was like, so I feel like I appreciate obviously that I have that honesty, but the past year I've really learned to try and deal with my emotions as well as laughing, but also actually like deal with them as they're coming at me, because I very much just been like, keep it moving and like, you know, have a lot of laughter. And I'm going to get a bit deep and personal here, but it's fine because I can still laugh about it. But it got to the point where I just felt so overwhelmed with everything that was changing, felt so like out of control, felt like the weight of the world was literally on my shoulders. And I literally remember thinking, I was like lying in bed and I was like, obviously I'm not going to do it, but I can actually understand why people commit suicide. Because not in the sense of like, oh, like I was really suicidal, but I was just like, beforehand, I was kind of just like, you know, when you hear of people that commit suicide and then you see all their family members and you see how much like love and people they had around them, and you think, why did they do it? Like, they're so missed, and it just like breaks your heart, because you're like, you just wish for them they could have held on because they had so much to live for. And I remember being in bed and thinking, I've literally got the same, like I've got all of these friends, so much like loving friends and family, my mum, everything, and I literally am just like, this is just, I just can't, like I can't put it into words other than I could really relate to someone who had committed suicide in that moment, because it was just like, oh my goodness, like you really feel the weight of the world when you're like going through it. But I think learning to have certain coping mechanisms really, really helps. So whether that's like you said, Serena, just being like, nope, I'm not even going to think about this, or whether it's like laughing through it, or like being able to banter with your friends, or speaking to a therapist, or like open up to your parents. I think the most important thing is just not going through it alone.
Yeah.
Which is really, really, really key. And I think one of the things that's really helped me is I'm now willing to be more open. Like just the fact that I'm talking about it like this now, I'm like, wow, like I've grown so much, because previously there's no way.
Yeah.
Like there's no way. So I'm like really happy that I can kind of acknowledge and almost self-analyze and just work through it. And I'm always just like, you know, like what's the worst that can happen? Like there's always going to be brighter days. Do you know what I mean? Like, and one of my mottos is don't make long-term decisions on short-term feelings.
Yeah.
And that's like my go-to mantra when I'm feeling a bit destructive. So yeah.
I agree. I think self-awareness when it comes to mental health is so important, because that's the only way that you can really move forward. If you don't know how you're feeling or how to cope with it, then that's when it spirals. And I think it's very important to know how you're feeling, what avenues of support is out there, and how to move forward.
Yeah, and I think like definitely there are so many unhealthy coping mechanisms that, and once you're aware of your own unhealthy coping mechanisms, I think that's also another like way out, I guess, because if you keep doing the same things you've been doing, you're going to be, you're not going to get any relief from that place you're in. So I think also speaking to people and finding out like what they do to cope can help, because I think it's not something we've been taught ever really, but it's needed. So
100%. And there's that saying, isn't there, like doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is a definition of insanity. So if there's something that's not working, you definitely have to try and find different ways. But yeah, obviously we got a bit more personal and deep with this episode, and I think mental health is something that will always be a topic. It's always going to be something that we'll need to speak about. It's always going to be something that we'll constantly be learning from, and hopefully it'll be more of an open conversation that has no stigma attached to it whatsoever, where everyone who suffers from any sort of mental health issue feels represented. But thank you so much for listening to this episode, guys. If you have any opinions that you'd like to share with us, make sure you're hashtagging Untold. If you want to get involved in other ways, we do obviously have our blog entries open for submissions. If you'd like to share a story that way, please let us know. But until next week, thanks for listening, guys. Bye.
Bye.